With Supply and Demand Pro, you will no longer worry about buying and selling at the exact worst time again, because you always know you're just a few clicks away from finding under and overvalued contracts to flip faster, entering trades at crucial supply and demand zones earlier, and exiting with 30 to 300 tick winners more often. All in just 3 easy steps. Step 1. Turn on the real-time fair market value indicator to automatically find undervalued and overvalued contracts. Step 2. Choose which of the 4 real-time supply and demand zones you want automatically plotted on your chart, based on the tick size opportunity you want to target. Step 3. Select manual or auto entries for your buy and sell zones to enter as early as possible and exit with the most profits possible. And remember, we'll teach you everything you need to know about how to use the fair market value intel to know when to buy cheap and sell expensive, how to use the 4 different auto entry supply and demand zones, and the manual and auto entry and exit signals, so you can start using it in your next session. And here's one more thing I bet you'll be relieved to know. You'll never run out of outstanding opportunities because it's the first ever automated supply and demand tools for NinjaTrader that tells you when it's safe to scalp between supply and demand zones. So anytime you want even more opportunities, you just flip on the supply and demand scalper zones to know where to safely scalp alongside your bigger flips, or even by themselves, to give yourself even more ways to automatically let the law of supply and demand hand you even more consistent winners, which can mean the difference between you chasing losses and you calmly cashing in on what the market gives you, right? Okay, now let me show you how it helps you find those undervalued and overvalued contracts to flip faster, enter your trades at crucial supply and demand zones earlier, and exit with 30 to 300 tick winners way more often. Just like it did for us here in the NASDAQ on this 2-minute chart, where we sold an expensive overvalued contract short from right here for a 161 tick flip and $805 in profits per contract in 80 minutes. And then check this out. Over here in the S&P 500 ES on a 2-minute chart, we did a long flip where we bought cheap and flipped it for 123 ticks and $1,537.50 per contract in less than 30 minutes. Then a quick short flip where we sold an overvalued contract short for 48 ticks and another $600 in profits per contract in less than 15 minutes. Okay, let's hop over to the YM. We're on a 6-range chart, and we make 2 long flips where in just 15 minutes we bought cheap and flipped 2 undervalued contracts long, one for 62 ticks for a total of $310 in profits per contract, and another for a long flip for 82 ticks and $410 in profits, for a total of $720 in profits. Next up, crude oil. First, we sold an overvalued expensive contract up here short and flipped it for 58 ticks, for $580 per contract in profits, in about 80 minutes. Then we bought cheap and made a long flip for another 58 ticks and put $580 more in profits per contract in our pockets. About 2 hours later, right back to the same tick, which perfectly demonstrates the power of the market always going back to fair value. And here's something fun you'll love. It works on Renko bars too. Like here in these ES, we're on a 6-brick Renko and pull off 2 flips. First, we bought cheap below the fair value line and flipped it long for 35 ticks and $437.50 per contract in less than 10 minutes. Then we flipped that overvalued expensive contract here above the fair market value line short for 31 ticks and $387.50 per contract in just 15 minutes. Okay, last one here in NASDAQ on a 5-minute chart, and it's a biggie because we flipped on our whale trade mode to find 300 plus tick winners and did it deliver. We flipped this expensive overvalued contract short for 388 ticks and pocketed $1,940 per contract in less than 2 hours. And it can do the same for you too, in any market or time frame you want, day or night.